Goeiedag en welkom nog een keer Kwarantynwyn in die tuin, saam met Elaine. Now for today, after that little scare Cyril gave us last night, we've decided that we will actually celebrate what matters.
Yeah, we really have a reason.
And we are having the Graham Beck Cuvee Clive 2015. Now we've mentioned Graham Beck in a video before, but Graham Beck is located in Robertson. Was started by visionary at that time, Graham Beck, and Pieter Bubbles Ferreira, with the help of Jan Kwarantynwyn, got involved there right in the early 90s, 1990, 1991. I speak under correction maybe with a year, and wanted to focus basically on making sparkling wine, or Cup Classique especially. Now, when Graham Beck started, they also made quite a bit of still wine. But a few years back, they've decided that they will only focus exclusively on Cup Classique wines. Now, Cup Classique, once again, is the South African equivalent of champagne. We're not allowed to call our sparkling wine champagne because it doesn't come from the Champagne region in France. So over here, we call it Cup Classique, or MCC for Method Cup Classique, Classic Method of the Cape.
It's just as fancy.
Which is the same guidelines and strict rules that the Champagne region adheres to. Now the Cuvee Clive is 100% Chardonnay, so it could be considered a Blanc de Blanc. Most of the grapes come from the property in Robertson. They say about 86% or 84%. And then there's a small parcel, 16%, that comes from a vineyard that they look after in Darling, which is on the west coast. It's just like 5-10 kilometers actually from the ocean. So where Darling can get pretty hot, the ocean influences, tends and cools it.
Sea breeze.
Definitely on that side. Now, Cuvee Clive, basically they will bring in the two parcels separately. It'll go, what the thing is with Cuvee Clive is as well, with the Cuvee, for every ton of grapes that they bring in, they only use the first 400 liters of juice. That's for the Cuvee pressing. The rest goes into their other ranges of sparkling wines, or MCCs.
So and really only the best of the batch.
And then that goes into French oak barrels for 3 months for fermentation. And then after that, they will be blended and bottled. And then it spends a fantastic 5 years on the lease. So this 2015 is a current release, and it was degorged in October 2020. So literally 2 months ago. Now, Graham Beck is also the first producer in South Africa, or public producer in South Africa, I know, that puts the degorgement date on the back of the bottle. Now, degorgement is that time when you take the crown cap off and the dead yeast cells go out, and you actually put the cork in the bottle, because for the rest it stays on the lees in the cellar. And it's almost like once it's on the lees in the cellar, it's like a time capsule. It can stay there.
What does on the lees mean?
Lees is the dead yeast cells that's in the body. But the longer it stays on the lees, the more mid-palate and richness a bubbly actually develops. Because if you take it off really quickly, it tends to show a lot of fresh fruit, so it's quite crisp and clean. But the longer it stays on there, there's a richness that develops because of those yeast cells. But of course, none of us wants to drink a cloudy wine, so they take that out, which is the process of degorgement. They actually freeze the neck and take that solid piece out and then put a cork in. But now, of course, once you put a cork into a bottle, it will start to age. It's basically, or let's say, deteriorate. Now, the French like to drink their bubblies young. The English like to age them on the cork for a little bit longer, so it's all up to personal preference. But the nice thing of having that degorgement date is that if you do walk into a shop which has some Graham Beck on the shelf, you can at least see, okay, fine, this is one that was degorged this year or last year, not something that's been standing on the shelf for 12 years because nobody bought it.
Yes.
So that at least gives you an indication of, almost want to say, freshness of the bottle. It's not a sell-by date, so don't be fooled. It is just the time when the cork got into the bottle. Now, Graham Beck is quite a prestigious brand. They've managed to rack up quite a good track record over the years. Graham Beck bubbly was served with Nelson Mandela's inauguration in 1991, or 1994, sorry.
Oh, 1994, yeah.
And it was also used with Barack Obama. It was also the bubbly poured with Barack Obama when he did his acceptance speech.
Yeah.
And even more interestingly, a few years back in the last James Bond novel, Carte Blanche, the Cuvee Clive that we're having today is actually mentioned as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the 2009 vintage that actually got the mention in there. Cuvee Clive is also one of those vintage bubblies that doesn't get made every year, only when it is exceptional. So it's always a thing to absolutely look out for. Not
Yes.
readily available everywhere, but the Graham Beck range of bubblies are quite extensively available all across the world. Supermarkets in the UK actually hold these as well.
But
So
this one's definitely one for big celebrations.
but this one's fantastic, man.
Oh, it's delicious.
What Pieter Bubbles Ferreira has been doing over the years is actually, he's in the pursuit, not just the pursuit of happiness, but he's in the pursuit of the perfect bubble.
Yes.
To find that mousse, the way the bubbles enter the mouth, and have it beautiful and fine. And I think he definitely gets it right over
He
these.
does it so well with this one, yeah, because the bubbles are so delicate.
It's,
Which is my favorite bubble.
yeah, you don't want to have the same fizz you have out of a 2-litre bottle of Coke.
Yes.
You
yeah.
want it
This is
beautiful
so
and
fine.
elegant.
Yeah. It's delicious.
No, well, it's not like Pieter Ferreira didn't have any practice. He just, I think, they've just finished their 30th vintage
Yes.
at Graham Beck, and he's been there since day one, so overseeing absolutely everything. And he has a winemaker with him, Pierre, as well, that also, of course, helps out quite extensively in the cellar. The wine itself, beautiful yellow apple. There's a touch, almost not so much green apple, but it's more on the yellow side. There's the acidity.
And apricot. Okay?
There's some apricot, and there's this beautiful light toasted almonds
Yes.
on there. Nothing
My
too much,
favourite
so
smell
it's
in a
not that.
Chardonnay.
Exactly. So beautiful wine, quite elegant, long finish, fine mousse.
Very citrusy as well.
Definitely something to have on a day where we can finally celebrate what matters and what we have.
Yes.
So from us here in Kwarantynwyn, I believe, celebrate what matters, stay safe during lockdown, adhere to those stupid rules. But
Wear
we
your
have
mask,
to,
people, please.
except when you're having a glass of wine in your hand. But for now, cheers.
Cheers.